What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my favorite baits to catch bass during the winter. So as you know, the winter gets very cold. You got to put on coats, sometimes multiple layers of clothing depending on where you live. And yeah, so we're going to get started. First bait, I like to use the what is it, blade bait. I love the blade bait. This is how it looks. And with this blade bait, you see all that flash from the light reflecting, silver buddy or whatever you want to call it. This is a swivel. In order to fish the blade bait or this particular kind, you have to use a swivel, because you can't just tie your line directly to the, hose here, or it's gonna sort of mess up the bait. So you have to put a swivel on and tie your line here. So as you see, instead of it having 3 hooks, I have 2 hooks. And what I did was I just took some pliers and I snipped off one of the hooks on each treble. And the reason I did that is because since I'm fishing in grass, instead of me fishing in grass on the bottom with 3 hooks, I can fish with 2 hooks. Meaning, even though it's gonna be fishing on the bottom in the grass, I can get it up out of there. I can get it off the grass, and it's not gonna carry as much grass. Usually when I fish on the bottom like that, I have barely any grass, and I'm able to continuously fish on the bottom. Next bait, and this bait is also very good. Next bait, and it's multiple. I have multiple colors. It got gold, and it's just a lot of them in this package. Next bait I have is a 10,000 fish death stalker. Sort of like a blade bait, but except for, show you. Now I have used it, but I didn't want to, put it with the, I didn't want to put it with the other blade bait, so I just put it back in the package. So as you see here, it has a different paint job, a better paint job than the regular blade bait. Has some googly eyes, but they don't move. On this, I didn't snip off the treble hooks. It still has all 3, but the key difference is the regular blade bait in here doesn't have a blade, an actual blade. Therefore, when the regular blade bait goes, it just gives off vibration. The 10,000 fish death stalker blade bait gives off vibration, and it gives off flash and extra added vibration as well because of the blade. So when you fishing the regular blade bait, you will hook into more fish, maybe because it does have 2 treble hooks here and here. But on this, you might miss more fish because it only has 1 treble hook. So when you hook set with this, you're gonna definitely have to make sure you have a very good hook set in them. Next bait I would say is, I'll show you. Texas rig. This is a Yum Christy Craw, black and blue. I like to fish this bait because it's pretty small, and then most of the time bass are either going to be eating small bluegills, small shad, or maybe some craws. So this is the color that I got, black and blue, Christy Craw by Yum. And you can fish it on the bottom. Well, if it's wintertime, you're definitely going to want 2 fish on the bottom, because that's where almost all the fish are going to be, on the bottom. And fish it very slow. Fish all your baits very slow. Next bait is a fluke. These I'm pretty sure are, these are unopened, but I'm going to open them now. So you can see this color is white ice. Now the reason I like to fish the fluke, it imitates a shad, sort of looks like a shad, has the body design of a shad. Texas rig it, weighted Texas rig or weightless Texas rig. Cast it out, let it fall to the bottom. As it's sitting there, let it sit a couple more seconds than you usually would, because those fish are gonna see that bait gliding down and they might want it. But since it's cold, those fish are just gonna be barely moving. And so you want that bait to sit there as long as possible. Usually, when I'm fishing anything during the winter, I usually go with 10 seconds max. Sometimes I might go to 15 seconds. But instead of you fishing it like sort of like a real jerk bait, how you would during the summer or springtime, or even during the fall, let it fall to the bottom. Don't give aggressive jerks. That way when you jerk aggressively, whether you're jerking it up or sideways, it's gonna go like that or like that. You wanna jerk it soft, like this. That way it goes like this. And then it falls back down, or it goes like, and falls back down on the bottom. And let it sit there for 10 to 15 seconds. Sometimes 20, just depending on how cold the air that the body of water you're fishing in. The next bait. Z-Man TRD. You can't go wrong with a Z-Man TRD. Honestly, I'm starting to get a little bit more better with the Z-Man TRD. And I have the jig head right here. Now, although I can't really fish it in grass like this, I have to put it on a Texas rig. And I didn't bring any the Texas rig hooks, so I can't really show you how it looks Texas rig. But if you were to fish on like a hard bottom, or like just, not like a lot of grass, but like just a little bit of grass, where the fish can still get it if it's still on the bottom, you would do good. And my favorite color is green pumpkin. Now the colors that I do have are green pumpkin and white lightning. White lightning is just all white. It's sort of just like the color of the fluke actually. It's white, all white, and then it has like just a little bit of black and gray glitter in it. But the Ned rig is very good. Although it's small, you might catch majority small fish, but sometimes those big bass will want those small fish. I mean, they will want those small baits. So this could be a very good bait. Fish it slow across the bottom, drag it, hop it, and as that bait is sitting in the water, it's gonna either start rising up or it's gonna already be risen up, and it's gonna literally sit just like this in the water. And then you go to pop it again, do that. Or if you drag it, let it sit there for a couple seconds. Drag it, let it sit there. Next bait. I have a couple of these actually. These are minnow profile baits. During the winter, you can go after crappie, even bluegills, bass, any fish. I sometimes will drop shot these during the winter, and I have caught some fish on it this year. Well, last year, 2021, and I have also fished it on a jig head and bobber. I got a bobber here. The way I'll rig it, put my line through this hook. Then what I'll do, bring it out the other hook right here. Maybe go about like that right there. Cast it out. Just give it a little bit of movement. Because look, watch this, look. I'm gonna try to stop the tail from moving, and then I'm gonna let the tail just sit back, watch. It's still moving, has a lot of movement. And then if you just give it a little bit more movement, it's gonna move. The way that this bait gets enticement to bite from a fish is the tail movement. If you wiggle it a lot, it's gonna wiggle a lot. If you move it a little bit, it's gonna wiggle a little bit. And if you don't wiggle it at all, it's still gonna move just as little. Now, if it's a little bit choppy on the water, if it's a little bit of wind, you can easily cast this bait out and just let it sit there. The wind will move your bobber, and your bobber is gonna move your bait. Then these are, I don't know why this is darker, but this is clear way clearer. And I don't know if you can hear this. Try another one. It has, it's not foil, but something silver in there. Basically, when the fish bites down, they're gonna hear that, or they either might hear or feel the crunch of that bait in there, and they're gonna basically the noise that you're hearing is gonna make the fish keep the bait in their mouth longer. And then also it has flash since it's silver. My next bait, KVD 1.5. Now, when I first started fishing this bait during the winter, I didn't think it was really gonna catch or was getting the bites, because I thought it was gonna float up quicker, just like float up quick like this, just how my bigger crankbaits do in the deeper ones. I'm glad I got this one. This crankbait is, I think, Sexy Shad color. Has the little shad spot here, yellow, and then blue, white on the bottom, and a little bit of bright orange right here at the top. So, say I cast it out as far as I can. What I did, cast it out, really maybe about 5 or 6 turns, because this here is a KVD 1.5, so it's only going to go about 1.5 feet deep. Sometimes it might go deeper if you have lighter line. So what I did, I casted it out, I fished it, but I reeled it maybe 6 or 7 times real quickly so it can get pretty deep, and I just let it float. And it floats very, very slow. It float maybe just like this right here. And then I let it wait. I let it sink for 10 seconds. Real. Let it sink for 10 seconds. I mean, not let it sink, but let it float for 10 seconds. And as it's just sitting there, it's gonna float very, very, very slow. And in those 10 seconds, it's not gonna float all the way up to the top. It's gonna float very slow. So it might float up maybe at least 4 inches. And I do try to get it as close to the bottom as I can. Now, I think my favorite of them all, out of all the winter baits, lipless crankbait. Can't go wrong with a lipless crankbait. Tie your line here to the split ring where my hand is covered. Shake it. Has rattles. This looks more of a shad. This has a better shad pattern than this one. This one is blue and white. This one is black and gray. Yeah, but this one looks more like a shad. If I shake them at the same time, or different times, you can hear that this one has a louder and more sensitive vibrate. It has a louder and more sensitive beads in it, meaning it's gonna sound louder and it might get more bites. But this one, see, you hear it? Lighter, louder, and sounds like it's a lot. This one sounds like it's bigger beads, more bolder or more harsher sound than this one. So if I was to fish one in cold water, I mean not cold water, but if I was to fish one of these in natural water, one in lightly stained water and the one in dirty water, I would fish this one in the more dirty water because it has better a better rattling sound, and I'll fish this one in a less dirtier water. Another bait, a new bait that I recently got. I actually got it for Christmas, and it has been working very good. pretty good actually. I'm gonna take all 3 of them out actually. Before I get to these, I also have the Drop Shot. Love the Drop Shot during the winter time. Now when the water gets muddy, I don't fish the Drop Shot. But on a clear water day, go to 1/4 ounce. I go to 1/4 ounce Drop Shot weight, and I did have a actual Drop Shot hook, but it was thicker. Well, not thicker. It had it was wider than this, and this one is thinner. So far, the thinner has been working more. I've been able to bring more fish in with this one, and this is actually a Wacky Rig hook. So the way I would rig this on a Drop Shot is just rig it nose hooking it straight like that, or I might leave it in the bait completely and have it barely so the fish can see the hook. That when they bite it, they just bite in the worm. I mean, they bite in the minnow, and they don't really see the hook until they get hooked. That's another way I fish it. Now I'm gonna keep the Drop Shot here because this is the Megabass. I don't know why it says custom worm, but this is a Megabass Haze Dong Shad, 3-inch. This one here is 3 inches, and comes with 8 in the package. I would definitely recommend this. And the color is Ghost Shad. Fish this on a Drop Shot. It's really all I fish it on a Drop Shot. This is how it looks on a Drop Shot. Really, the only way I really rig them is Drop Shotting. Fishing on a Drop Shot. This looks very amazing to the bass. Somehow, well, I'm not gonna say I'm really surprised about what I'm about to say, but sort of am in a way. So, I lost my biggest bass on this, on a 3.3 inch. I caught the most fish with it so far this winter with the smaller baits, because most of the time when it's small, most of the time when it's cold in winter and the water's very cold, the fish aren't gonna move a lot. They're not gonna move a lot. They're not gonna be eating a lot. And if they do, it's gonna be small baits. So when I first got this, I started out with the small version. I caught some fish, changed to the bigger version. Now this is the same one, but except for this is 4.5 inches with only 5 of them. Megabass, same thing. Haze Dong Shad, 4.5 inch. Ghost Shad, just like this color. You see the size difference? Now, sometimes you want to catch big fish, you can go with the smaller one, or you can go with the bigger one. Me, preferably, I would go with the smaller one because I can catch smaller fish and big fish at the same time. But sometimes those small fish will want a bigger meal. And even a big fish might just want something simply small instead of something big like this. And then you got the Green Pumpkin Haze Dong Shad. 4.5 inches as well. The only difference about this one is the color. It's just same size as this one. The only difference is the color. This works good in this. This works good in. This works good in the winter as well. My next bait. Put these away really quick. My next bait that I actually have on rigged up is, although it says suspending, this is a Smithwick Rogue floating jerkbait. Now, when you type in suspending jerkbaits, these might come up. This is a, I think, 4.5 inch. Let me see. No, this is, I think, oh, yeah, this is 4.85 inch. Almost close to 5 inches. I haven't caught a fish yet. But the good thing about this is that it's a little bit bigger, so I can catch a little bit bigger fish. The color, I actually have 2 of these. The other one is with the rest of my tackle. It's not opened yet, but just like this crankbait floats very slow, this floats slow, but it doesn't float. This floats back up to the top of the water, slow, but it doesn't float back up very, very slow. It maybe floats like this instead of like this. But color-wise, I think I'm gonna say Nia either. Well, I say it's chartreuse, purple, black, red. On the bottom you have what it is, white and a little bit of hot pink on both ends. Now, I prefer suspended jerkbait. What I'm gonna do soon is get some suspend dots or maybe suspend strips and put one right here. Maybe make it very, very small. That way it can suspend, or at least if it still does float, it floats way slower. I love jerkbaits, suspended jerkbaits, because you can keep it in that water column for a very, very long time without moving it, and it's literally gonna stay put. But with floating jerkbaits, it's gonna float, meaning it's not. It means it's gonna move away from the fish, and it's not gonna stay in the strike zone longer. Sinking, same thing. It's gonna move. It's actually gonna sink towards the bottom, and it's not gonna stay in the strike zone longer. But during the winter, I would prefer sinking over floating, because sinking is gonna stay in the water longer. Floating is gonna rise up to the top, and you're gonna have to get it back down again. But sinking, sink all the way down. All I gotta do is maybe give a couple twitches up, and then it's gonna sink back down. And I have that tied on my Abu Garcia rod. So yeah, guys, that's all my favorite baits to fish during the winter. Hope y'all like this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with your family and friends and your co-workers. And I'll see y'all in the next video.